Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners Transportation Committee. And at this time, I'd like to take a roll call. Oh, sorry.
September 16, 2021.
Oh. And
I'm sorry.
September 16, 2021. Thank you, Commissioner Sarah, for the reminder. And I would like to call to order the meeting and a roll call vote, please.
Chair Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Sear,
Here.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Here.
Commissioner Hughes,
Here.
Commissioner Larry,
Here.
Commissioner Nash,
Here.
Commissioner Pego,
Here.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Here.
and Commissioner Wilkins.
Thank you. I would need a motion to approve the minutes of August 12th, 2021.
Second.
Motion and
You got
support. Yeah, thank you. Well, hopefully we'll get that recording system that will help us on that. Item number 4 on the agenda this afternoon, informational items.
You probably vote
We have,
on the
we
minute.
don't vote on these items. These are for
Vote on the minutes.
vote on the minutes. Oh, I need approval, a motion, so we vote.
Now we
Is
just-
approval of minutes of 2021.
You need a motion.
I need to move, somebody
Motion's been
supported it.
Motion and so.
Now we just need to vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have a couple of informational items that would go into file for our filing transit operations report and airport operations report that is in the packet. At this time, item number 5, public comment on an agenda item. Do we have any public comment on an agenda item at this point?
Not online.
No, we're not seeing it. Thank you very much. Commissioner Vega. Our presentation this afternoon is update on the transportation route system and GoTo by Mr. Jim Combs, our transit manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Jim Coons, Muskegon Area Transit, 2624 6th Street. I'm going to walk through some slides that talk a little bit about our route program as it has been reformulated for almost a year now, as well as the new GoTo program that has been launched. I believe you have been provided copies of these. Is that right? If at any time you have questions, feel free to interrupt. I'll do my best to answer.
Yes.
Is it on?
Yeah.
There's a little slide on the side.
This is one of my shows.
There you go.
We got today on our desk.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing? Okay.
Yeah, these are the slides that I'm just showing up here, but they may be easier to see. So on September 28th of 2020, nearly a year ago now, the MATS program was realigned. And essentially, we now provide 3 different forms of public transportation. The first is our fixed route program. And as you may recall, that was designed, redesigned, and realigned to provide more streamlined routes, bi-directional service on most of those routes, fewer field transfers required, and more opportunity for people to take one-seat rides, so to speak. Quicker travel times for most customers, and each of the routes has key trip generators and attractors on them. The second piece of our realigned system is our ADA complementary paratransit program. And that is a small bus that we still operate directly that is required to be operated by the Americans with Disabilities Act. So we have customers who live in the area of the routes who may not be able to use the route system due to some disability, whether it be cognitive, visual, mobility, whatever. And so we're required to still provide a complimentary paratransit service, which we are doing presently as well. The third piece of our realignment is the MicroTransit program, which was approved in September, but it launched actually on June 23, about 12 weeks ago now. And that is a technology-enabled transportation on-demand service that is sponsored by MATS and operated by a third party via transportation.
How's that going?
I'll go through that. We'll talk about that at length. That program, if you're familiar with an Uber or a Lyft type vehicle in other communities, or even here in Muskegon, is a similar type of service where you summon it, and we'll talk about that. The next slide here is a drawing or schematic of our current fixed route network. And so this is scaled back from what we used to operate. It is on the western border. It approximately goes to to Glenside Street or Glenside Avenue. And on the east, it goes as far out to Walker Road, up by Apple Avenue to the Orchard View Adult Education Center. The northern boundary is basically Marquette. And the southern boundary is basically Mona Lake, but with obviously the Route 31 that is going out to service the Harvey Street and Grand Haven Road corridors. And I may refer back to this map if you have questions about the routing.
And the fixed route, it's, I'll wait till you get to that. Go ahead. That's okay.
So just a little bit of service comparison regarding the fixed routes. So our hours of operation prior to making these changes, and I'm going to kind of ignore the whole COVID impact that we had in 2020, but before we made the changes in 2019, we were operating routes from 6:25 a.m. to 10:40 p.m. Monday through Friday, and on Saturdays from 9:30 to 5:40. Currently, our route operation is from 7 a.m. to 5:41, Monday through Friday only. We have decreased the number of buses from 11 buses on 11 routes. It actually was more than that a few years prior, down to what we currently operate as 8 buses on 7 routes. In terms of the amount of service deployed or supplied to the customers, we were operating 845 hours of service roughly on a weekly basis. And in the new alignment, it's approximately 434 hours of service, or about a 49% reduction in how much route service we have on the road. When I talk about a vehicle revenue hour, vehicle revenue hour, that's one vehicle on the road for an hour. Okay, so we've cut back quite a bit on what we deploy. The ridership in fiscal year 2019 was 461,000, and this year, with a little bit of estimate for the remainder of the month, it will be about 144,000, or a 69% reduction. Again, a portion of that, and I'll talk more about why that. Average passengers per vehicle revenue hour before the change across the system in 2019 was just about 11 passengers per revenue hour. Presently, through 11 months of this year, we're tracking at about 6.64. A couple of comparisons on the routes prior to our changes. Route 115 was our lowest performing route. That was the Montague route, and it's a non-urban route, so we just struggled to get that increased. Currently, Route 11 is our lowest, 3.7 passengers per revenue hour. I'll just go back to the map a moment. In our new alignment, many of these routes work together. So for example, on the west end of town, we have Route 1, and then when it reaches Meyer, it connects with Route 2 and actually comes back into town, kind of in a loop, but it's not a loop. I can go into more detail about that. But 11 and 12 are the ones that are going out to the northeast. Those are the ones that are going to Muskegon Community College, Baker College, Orchard View Workforce, some of the senior complexes and apartment complexes out to that end of town, kind of toward the Muskegon
That's
Township
Route
area.
11, I'm sorry.
Route 11 and 12 both go out
Can you
that
give
way.
us the colors?
Yeah, the
And they work together. 11 would be the yellow. You're asking the colorblind guy to help you.
Oh, I see. Way down here at the bottom, are you
Yeah,
talking?
11 is the one that's yellow across the top. The one that travels.
Green.
Green, sorry.
Colorblind.
Never mind.
But
Okay.
that's really been impacted by a couple of major things. One is the colleges haven't been open. And even now that the college is open as of 4 weeks ago,
Online.
only about 33% of the classes are in person.
Right. there's-
So we're really, the route isn't bad. It's just that things haven't opened up yet.
Okay.
We also have been impacted significantly on that route in particular with all the construction going on this year, the construction over here on Spring Street, the construction all the way down the Amity corridor, it has really made it difficult to do some of those crossovers. Quarter line is now closed. There are just a lot of things happening that are causing that route to underperform right now. But we expect it will come back up.
Jim,
Okay.
what's the revenue, the vehicle revenue hours for the one that's going out to the mall?
So the one that goes to the mall or to Route 31 is one route that has two vehicles on it. And the reason is that it's twice as long as the other routes. So it carries twice, we deploy twice as many vehicle revenue hours on that route, but it's still once an hour service. So the customer still sees the bus go by their location once per hour southbound, once per hour northbound, but it requires that we deploy two buses on that route in order to make that happen. So it's roughly twice as many hours dedicated to that route as the other ones.
But what's the passenger?
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have it in front of me. I think it's tracking between 4 and 5 per hour right now.
Because the mall, there's so much clothes out there that.
Yeah, and we're feeling the impact of that as well.
Yeah, that means we've got two vehicles on there. It's
Yeah, and if we were to cut it to
costing
one
us
vehicle,
double to run those
Your route
kind of
times would be.
yeah, if we would cut it to one vehicle, then, you would spend half as many hours on it, but a customer would have to wait 2 hours to get a bus. And we don't know that that would be a tenable situation for many people to time their day out that way. But it's operating as designed, and we're just waiting for things to come back to an open status. Okay. So anyway, I'm sorry.
Highest performing route. So that's what that-
Yeah, so right now, or prior to our change, it was Route 55, which was kind of our East Sherman route. It goes out to the Walmart and areas on East Sherman, came back on Layton. Route 2 does, is at 10.6. That kind of goes out Apple, comes down Getty into Meyer at Norton and connects with 1. So I can get into, I didn't put all the routes on here, but we can provide that report perhaps when the month of September closes and we have this whole year, we can give you some more route by route information.
And can you give us too what the savings have been in labor and maintenance and stuff on the gas and maintenance on the vehicles too?
I'll do my best. Once the year closes, that'll be,
Okay.
There'll be a little time to close the
Okay.
books, but we can help with that. So nationwide, fixed route systems have been struggling and working to recover from impacts of COVID-19. Some of those, as I'm sure you understand, public transportation is portrayed as a crowded place, public place to avoid. Many institutions and businesses remain closed or are reduced operating levels. Remote work and learning options have emerged and remain. And I think there are going to be people who continue to work from home, or they're using home delivery, or they're getting paid at home, et cetera, and it makes staying at home possible. That has impacted route systems. For MATS, we have an added component to this, which is that customers that used to use MATS, and now they're coming back to it, now have to figure out the bus isn't where it was when I left. It's not the same route, it's not the same times, it's not the same bus stop locations, et cetera. And they're coming back to a system at the same time where it's been difficult for us to go out and do a lot of in-person communication, in-person trainings, et cetera. Now, our travel trainings are resuming now. We've had one today at Health West where we actually go in, bring a vehicle, we work with their clients or with anybody who wants to come to one of those, and we show them how to navigate their trip. So those are resuming, and we believe that ridership will come back. I'd like to talk about our MicroTransit program. We launched this on June 23. It is branded as GoTo, which is kind of a fun name. You can look at the Go bus and say this is the second iteration of that, or you can ask where do you want to go to, and it's just an opportunity for us to get people around on a new type of service. This is operated 4 mats by Via. And it provides on-demand transportation using the GoTo by Mats mobile app. It operates as early as 5 a.m. on weekdays until midnight, and from 8 to 5 on Saturdays. This covers many of the gaps where we don't operate routes anymore. It also, whether it's a time of day gap or whether it's a location of the community gap, it covers many of those. And it currently serves within just the cities of Muskegon Heights, Norton Shores, and Roosevelt Park as a service area. The next slide is a map of that service area. And we do fairly strictly follow the city boundaries, with just a small couple of exceptions, like the northeast corner of Getty and Sherman, where there's this section of Muskegon Township in the middle of everything else. We didn't, map that out, but essentially we cover those 4 cities, and 3 of those cities are currently have come on in the participation, which are the city of Muskegon, Roosevelt Park, and Norton Shores. Muskegon Heights has not yet come into it, and we've accounted for that in the pricing structures so that we have that accounted for.
So I thought we said that service areas that didn't supply support would not be part of that source.
Yeah.
But you do have them in. How does that work? And
We're
how do you
still
justify
working.
that with other municipalities.
We're still working to get the Muskegon Heights participation. What we've done is we've structured the fares such that the fares in the other 3 communities is a standard $4 fare. $2 if you're a senior or person with disabilities. Everything in Muskegon Heights, with the exception of our office, DHS, and Muskegon Family Care, everything else in Muskegon Heights is presently considered a premium trip, and it's $8. So we accounted, it's kind of right in the middle, and we know there are some things there that Muskegon, Norton Shores, or Roosevelt Park people may need to get to. Particularly DHS and Muskegon Family Care. So to exclude it would have meant we were driving through it but couldn't do anything in it. And so we accounted for their current lack of participation through that $8 fare structure as a premium trip for anything going into or out of the city.
Is the fare
But
payment?
again, the second part of that is how do you justify that with other municipalities?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah. This is back to the who's going to participate in paying for Matt's discussion. And we haven't run to that question yet. If it comes to that question and we have to discontinue that service, we'll have that brought to you.
Right, I'm just saying that, say Ravenna wants to join. They say, well, just give us the $8 pricing.
Well, it's obviously geographically a much different situation.
Right.
That's an expansion of the zone outside of the geographic area we're trying to serve. So by including Muskegon Heights, we still maintain a contiguous geography. We're going to be driving through Muskegon Heights, whether we're able to pick up and drop off there or not. So
what if somebody wanted to get on?
What if it was Muskegon Township?
So Muskegon Township, again, that's an expansion of the area. If somebody wants to get on Muskegon and go to any of these other 3 communities, it's a premium $8.
Well, what if they wanted to go to Ravenna?
Then that would be a different fare structure, acknowledging that we're expanding the boundaries of the program.
But they
A
could.
couple of questions. Do you mind?
No, I'm sorry. The trips are only available within these 4 jurisdictions. Yeah, you cannot travel outside of these, with the exception of the new connection that we're working on at the fire barn in Spring Lake Township.
Marcia, Commissioner Wilkins had her hand up.
Do you expect the revenue to be what we expect it to be? Because with a fixed route like that, you're gonna lose some people, I think, I mean, the demand is what might go down.
That this program will remove people from the fixed route program?
No, we won't be collecting enough revenue to have it continue.
Again, those are things we have to evaluate as the system gets its legs under it. Okay, we're 12 weeks into it, so plus for the launch period, we were giving out 10 free rides, and there are a lot of things that are hard for me to evaluate yet. I mean, we had some estimates going into it, and we will evaluate how it's tracking and making the adjustments we need to with our partners.
Yeah, is the Muskegon Heights decision, is that a final decision? Are they gonna review it?
It is not, I don't think it's a final decision per se. I do not believe there was a board vote on it yet. It was presented as a discussion item and we never received an affirmative response to it. But I don't know that it's been a negative response.
That was a couple months ago.
It was spring when we talked about that particular item, and then the effort since then has been on getting the launch going. So we would have to circle back on that discussion soon.
Thank you.
Might be appropriate to contact the mayor. Chair of the council.
So that is the service area. And again, some of the destinations, there are many others in there that people may want. So this is an example of the app. I won't belabor this, but the way you use it, download the app. That's kind of a picture of what the app looks like and what the icon looks like. You set up a user account and enter a form of fare payment. For most trips or most customers, you would enter your credit card information. And then everything is automatically charged to that when you complete a trip. There is also the ability for people who are unbanked to come to the Herman Ivory terminal and purchase ride credits from us. And then they can just enter a code and it will take the cash they've given us. It will give them a code to upload fare payment or fare value into their app.
So Jim, I have one more question on that. If I'm in Muskegon Heights and I wanted to ride out to FedEx to work, can I get picked up in Muskegon Heights for $8 and get to FedEx? Is that what the
Where's FedEx? Out on Grand Haven Road?
Yeah,
Yeah, if it's in the zone, yes, you
right on
can.
Mount Garfield.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so that'll be an $8 ride
Yes,
coming to and for.
yes.
Okay.
And we, if I can just go back a little bit to that. So Muskegon Heights is considered a premium trip right now. We also consider any pre-bookings. In other words, you want to book in advance, that's a premium trip because it's less efficient for the system as opposed to on-demand trips. And then the third thing is we're working with agencies to be able to have agencies book on behalf of their clients, and those are premium trips as well. So the public is getting the $4 fare or the $2 reduced, and then the agencies, pre-books, and Muskegon Heights trips are currently the $8 premium.
Now, do I still get that discount? Like if I ask for the ride to FedEx, but then I have 2 more people coming with me, we split that 8 still,
So
or
on-
is that 8 individuals?
On additional customers that are going from the same origin to the same destination, each of them pays half fare.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I need to see you after this. Okay.
Jim, just curious, do you remember what the number was for Muskegon Heights to join? It wasn't that much. I don't think.
It was approximately $20,000 a year, if I recall.
Okay, and if they did that, they would cut the fare, in half for everybody who rides it, that lives in that city.
Right.
Okay, so,
Wait, I have one comment. Yeah.
Yes.
So I would make a recommendation, I know you probably love this, but I would set a deadline on the municipality of Muskegon Heights and to come up with this, or they're going to lose service. I think you've given them ample time for a response. Community partnerships is what this is built on. We're servicing that community, but at an additional cost to their residents. If I'm a Muskegon resident, I go to Muskegon Heights for one of these service calls, I pay that
$8.
$8. So it's kind of, it's an odd setup that you would charge them a premium when their township or municipality is already paying for the service, then they have to pay for a premium. So my suggestion is you don't take it or leave it, but they would set them up with a deadline. You either come to the table on this thing or we're going to stop servicing your community, because the other communities, it's really not fair to the municipalities that are paying the bulk of this initiation.
We certainly considered that in setting it up, and we can come back around to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Jim,
Yes, sir.
are we gonna see, I didn't see it in, at least I couldn't read because the copy wasn't great. Are we gonna see some revenue numbers? from-
I can, it's really hard yet for me to give you those because we're just finishing this free ride promo period. And the revenues are held by VIA until we arrange for their delivery to us. So I know roughly, some of the numbers for June, July, August, but I don't have September data on a live basis.
So everybody who signed up in the beginning got 10 free rides.
Right?
Okay, so that would skew the numbers.
It does.
You can still use that as an estimate.
Yes.
When you said that you still haven't, so they haven't paid you anything yet?
I haven't requested they transmit it yet. I'll do that quarterly.
Okay, because we wouldn't want to get so far behind it and find out they couldn't afford to pay us.
No.
Mr. Chair, I have another comment, unfortunately for you, Jim. Who authorized you to give away free? I mean, I'm not into free stuff. So who made that authorization?
If I recall, the original go ahead on this was for me to be from the board, for me to be able to develop some of the parameters of the program. And so this is really a way, and I'll get to some of the build, how the program is building, but really it's a way to get people.
How many clients signed up for this?
I'll get to that in just a moment. So once you have the app downloaded and you have set up an account, have a payment method in, it's as easy as pulling up the app. You receive a map, the one on the left with the blue bar on the bottom. That's where you set your origin of your trip. If you have your location services turned on your phone, it'll already know where you are. You can say set as my origin, and then you'll get the screen next to it, which is you can move that pin around, or you can put in an address, or you can type in a common location. You say set my destination. The app will then, in a matter of moments, give you a trip solution, at which time you can either book the ride, or you can deny it and say, no, I'm not gonna be ready in 3 minutes, or, hey, I was just checking to see if you were really there. Once you've booked the ride, your app will confirm, and once the vehicle is within 5, maybe 10 minutes away from you, you'll be able to see the vehicle coming and the path it's on, and it will tell you what corner to walk to for your pickup. There is more information on our website at matsbus.com/GoTo. I just want to go into some of the launch performance information, which you should have this slide. And to your question, Commissioner Laring, since during the 11 weeks that this covers, there are 1,087 accounts created. That's the top and the left number. The graph kind of shows you that every day we're still having new accounts created. Of those 1,087 accounts that were created, the middle number, 465, is the number of riders who completed one or more trips. Okay. And then it kind of goes down from there. You'll see 370 had completed 2 or more trips, and 237 passengers had completed 5 or more bookings.
Jim, if you're gonna identify this stuff to us in color, I wish you would print it in color.
I printed it, it was me.
It's getting, never mind, you're not in trouble anymore.
I have a question.
Yeah, have people reported having trouble downloading the GoTo app? Because I can't get it. And I can download apps all the time.
I have not heard that. Let me look at it with you. I mean, there have been people who struggle downloading any apps.
I can download apps.
But if people are able to use their devices, they shouldn't have a problem with that. But I'd be happy to look into that. This is active riders. And again, if you have a black and white copy, it's gonna be a little tougher, but the dark blue columns here are from the start till the 8th. day over day, how many returning customers were utilizing the service, and then the lighter blue number above it are new riders. So we're seeing new riders that come on every day, and we're seeing the returning riders use it more all the time. This is a chart. They call it net demand. What that means is when a customer requested a ride, if they could provide a solution, it met demand. It doesn't mean the customer accepted the trip. It doesn't mean the customer didn't cancel it or anything else. This just says, were we able to meet the demand of that requested trip? And you can see that, that demand continues to increase week over week as well. It was a week in early mid-August. We had some operational issues with some vehicles. They had a number of problems that week, but we've recovered from that.
Jim, I have a comment. So
Yes.
back to you, Marcia. I just pulled it back up. It's readily available to download the app. So I'm not sure what you're doing.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
I have a question too. For this.
Yes.
Jim, do you characterize why it was they couldn't get a ride? I mean, is it because it's out of the area or at a different time where they're busy?
So some of I don't know if there should be, let me back up. If somebody's making a trip request and they're outside of the zone, we just don't go there, I don't think it would show up as a seat unavailable.
Okay,
It would come up as an out of the zone.
all right.
A seat unavailable would be something where we couldn't get a vehicle to you within a 45-minute response. Sometimes that's because the vehicle that's right next door, the driver stepped off 10 minutes to take care of business. And a lot of these, if a person comes back on in 5 minutes, they'll get a solution.
Okay.
And so
Well, it might be a good idea to check that, because if you find out that a lot of people are calling from an area we don't serve, that could encourage us to move into another area if there's a demand there.
And I am pretty certain they have all that data stored. It's just whether it's in my dashboard.
Okay, no problem.
Jim, if I could make a comment, I've used Uber in Muskegon maybe 8 times in the last year. Drop a car off at the dealer and need a ride. So frequently there's no cars available. Right? Uber is, I think this is better than Uber from what I've experienced.
You can download this app.
In our response time, I don't have the exact response, I don't have the average response times at my fingertips, but every time I've tried it, there's been a vehicle available in 8 minutes, 12 minutes. It's really been quite extraordinary. Our goal is to keep it under 30.
I did have another question. Can you, if I know I have to be to work by 6, can I set my ride up in the morning to be picked up at 6 in the evening?
So pre-bookings end the night before at midnight. So if you wanted to pre-book your ride home, you could. It would be a premium fare because you pre-booked it. If you want to book your ride to work in the morning, that's an on-demand booking with the standard fares. If you then got out of work and wanted to cancel your advanced one and get a live one, you can, or you can keep your premium one. Or your
So how soon can I get a live?
We would
How
suggest
late?
you not go more than an hour in advance of when you need to travel. Yeah, and so if you were to get out at 5 and you stole away for a couple of minutes at 4:30 and booked a trip, and it says we'll be there at 4:45, just decline it, and then it may offer you another, it may offer you a 5:15. Sometimes it'll offer you more than one option, but just attempt it before you need to travel. Decline it if it doesn't work for you, and that's what some of those that's not this one, but some of those declined rides here. So on this one, and again, you don't have any color, but this again shows that all of the activity is increasing overall. The bottom color are the completed trips. Right above that are the unaccepted trips. So that would be what you're referring to. Somebody tried to book it. They said, no, I don't want that. Now
My concern is that if I can't book it over an hour, right? And so I start trying to book it at 5 because I have to be to work at 6. And then your thing says, well, I'll pick you up at 5:45. I'm probably gonna be late,
If you're going to work in the morning.
especially if there's other riders.
Well-
So how can I book it early enough so that I'm not late to work?
So it is designed to be an on-demand system. If you need to have that, I think you can do that through the pre-booking function. If that arrive by is an issue.
So you only can do it in the morning.
No, the night before.
The night before, so pre-bookings opens up 3 days in advance of the day and it ends the night before. So you could book now for Friday or Saturday.
But what it would be the premium fare though.
It'll be the
No,
premium.
it seems like it wouldn't.
What's the
seems like it'd be
premium?
cheaper.
The $8 fare. It's not, the reason
There's a
that
bigger chance to cancel.
the on-demand
Yeah.
really, because what the system does is with an on-demand trip, it pulls the closest thing.
I see.
If it is a pre-booking, it has to, it might be wanting to send a vehicle out that way, but it knows it has to be over here. And so it drops what it's doing to take care of you.
I still think that, and I kind of a little bit disagree with Commissioner Laren on Muskegon Heights, because even if it's an $8 premium that they're passing on to their clients, if you compare that to cost of a taxi to do the same thing, it's usually going to be 50% to 100% higher. So I think it's better to have this system, and it's a little bit more, I guess, somewhat more smoother in the demand and with the apps, which you don't get with a cab. So
Jim, the system is being used throughout the country. This is not a,
Yeah, this is an emerging transit. Mode,
I've
I'll
read
say.
and you have given me some information prior, and this is used in other municipalities, and so, it seems.
And each one,
These are good questions, thank you for answering those.
this chart just shows you that despite every effort that we would make, there's always going to be, some seats unavailable because we can't meet 100% of everything. Second of all, there's always going to be people canceling or not showing up for their trips. It's just part of what we do is try to provide that service.
Do they get charged if they don't show?
No. Agency trips, we're working through that. We probably would for agencies. This is another graph that just kind of shows you time of day. Our peak, just on this system, just like it is on our routes, our peak is kind of the mid-afternoon period. That's when people seem to, either they're coming back from somewhere they went to in the morning, or they're going out to somewhere they're coming back to later.
Jim, do you know, for these vehicles, are they identified anyway as being, the stickers on them or anything?
Says so too.
Are they do?
Yeah, they're rated.
Right, it's
The whole
white
van
and
is
green.
covered.
They're real pretty.
Okay.
Pretty.
It's a whole
I've never
wrap
seen
on the
that.
van.
Will you live in Muskegon Township?
I know,
Yeah,
yes,
they're
maybe.
These are some numbers. Everybody wants numbers, and so these are the completed rides count by trip origin and destination for that 11-week period. So on the left side is the trip origin, which city the trip originated in, and across the top is which community the trip ended in. So Muskegon, the city of Muskegon was origination for 2,283 trips, and the destination for 2,195. And I can explain the chart further if anybody needs me to, but essentially if you read across, the city on the left is where they started, and the city on the top is where they ended. During that 11.
Marcia, do you have another question?
Yeah, just to let you know, I did find it a different way, and you have a 5.0 rating, so excellent.
And I didn't put that slide in there, but at the end of every trip, customers have an opportunity to rate their experience. This information is the chart, and then this is just a graphical representation. It's a little difficult to see the darkness, but on the left is kind of a map of the geography area. Each of those dots or splotches is a trip that originated, and then on the right-hand side is where each of the destinations were for the 11-week period. And I can modify these and pull out locations that had 10 or more trips, or do a little bit that. But this is every location that trip began. Around. So we are, this is a new thing. We're 12 weeks into it. It is a complement to what we do as a route system and as a ADA system. It is not perfect for everybody, but there are a lot of people that are using it. And we're looking forward to bringing information to the communities as we get into this a little further and get their feedback and buy-in further.
Okay, I think it's time for questions now. Oh, Commissioner
My
Sheriff,
question?
yeah, yes.
Jim, I know at one point in time, I remember, and this was, I think, before I was on this commission, but they had we had quite a few comments a lot of times about the lack of bus service. And I haven't heard anything. Are they calling you at all and saying they are not serviced? I mean, do you hear many of those complaints or not?
Well, yeah, I mean, we still get a lot of people saying that, how can I get somewhere? I had a call that I took yesterday that came in through the front line. I happened to grab it, and it was somebody who lives out in, it was either Eaglecraft or Arlington States, and wanted to get, this person was deaf, her mother had an appointment to go to, and I couldn't offer it. And so I divert them to 211, Agewell, some other agencies that might be able to help them. I think the biggest, again, this service is just launched as far as the GoTo. And so the biggest question that we were getting there at the beginning, aside from, some download issues or unbanked issues, was really, well, why isn't this available where I am? And so, those are discussions we can continue to have, but our focus has been on launching this one and getting this one strong, and then we can talk about any next steps.
Thank you.
Yes, Jim, this company is from Minneapolis. Is that where they?
Their primary location is New York City.
New York City.
Yeah, but they're nationwide.
Well, my concern is about the senior citizens who usually ride the bus, and a lot of them are older and don't know how to use apps and don't know what kind of approach you need.
So we still offer our routes, and we would love to get those people plugged in to riding the routes, because it's the most efficient way for all of us. When that's not an option, for some of them, if they're disabled, then we can put them toward our ADA program, which is not the most efficient by any means. But the final option would be for us to help them through this, okay? And we would be happy to, at our Herman Ivory terminal or at our office in Muskegon Heights, help people download the app. I've helped people get their credit cards into the system, get their ride promo credits, ride bundles that they've purchased from us in cash. We've helped them through those steps. And would be happy to go out. I'll be explaining it to McLaughlin Neighborhood Association people on Monday, helping them understand it. It's really word of mouth and getting people to be able to learn how this might be a solution for them.
And perhaps it would be good to have somebody to introduce this to the churches, because you got the older people at the churches and you want them to learn and you want them.
We'll be happy to go out to anybody that wants to have us to explain it. The app may not be the thing for everybody. Not everybody's going to acclimate to this. There is a phone line that's available for people who can't use the app.
Okay.
But that's not 100% the best answer for everybody either. So we are going to do everything we can to help people through it. We will continue to make adjustments and bring those ideas to
Mr. Skolnick, I have a question.
Yeah, just, this really isn't a question, but I was filling up my car with gas at the Meyer gas station at Norton and Henry, and there were two of these vans there getting gas. And I just walked over to talk to the drivers. I didn't tell them who it was. And they were both really excited about doing the work. I mean, they think they'd be complaining. I said, they were busy, and they said we're pretty busy, and they seem to enjoy it.
I won't digress into hiring difficulties, but it's amazing how many people would like to do something like this rather than have an 8 to 5 o'clock
Yeah,
lunch.
oh, yeah.
So, they've done really well in getting.
The gig economy.
It is. It's amazing.
Commissioner Moore has that question.
All right, so is the 10 free rides, are you still giving away?
That expired yesterday. So the launch promo has ended. We have not yet set up any next promo. It won't be probably that generous, but there may be something that's another promo.
So if I do this right, you've got approximately 4,000 riders. Potentially, these are people that signed up, that's 40,000 free rides. I'm surprised if you would have any revenue since June.
So some of those 4,000 are people who have become so enamored with this that they are riding well beyond their 10 credits. Okay. Some of them have only tested the water and taken it once or twice, as the numbers show. But the revenue is not very big right now for July and August.
Well, if they've used 8, so if the program expired and I've used 5 of my free rides, can I still use 5 more?
No, the ride
It's
promo
done.
is done.
Thank you. Jim, I want to thank you. I know we brought this up for our attention at the motion review, and I think it was good for the commissioners, everybody to hear what's going on and keep us up to date with this. I think at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's going to better for the county and giving more service. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have items for consideration, TR 21/09-26, to accept the First Amendment of Office Lease Agreement between the County of Muskegon and Safe Cutters Inc. for additional office space in the Muskegon County Airport Administration Building 99, Sinclair Drive, Norton Shores, Michigan, 49441.
Support.
Support that, so. Do a vote on this. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Mr. Lukens is here to answer those. No questions, okay.
I have.
Yes.
How was a square foot? I know they've been there, I don't know how long they've been there, I know they've been there for a while. How did we determine how much to charge?
It's the market rate, Commissioner. So airport leases are somewhat different from traditional leases on retail properties. So we looked at other airports in the area and what their lease rates are. So it's a, it's an average from those other airports.
The lease includes everything.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. They pay utilities.
Okay, I think, yeah, that might have been stated, man, but good question. Commissioner Sheriff.
Just curious what this Safe Cutters.
Safe Cutters is a company that distributes box cutters and other
Yeah.
cutting
Safe.
mechanisms.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lukens. So we have a motion and support and vote, and all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Gets forwarded on. Thank you. Oh,
Did you want to vote on that last
No,
one?
and
sorry,
on the
it
last.
wasn't- my husband locked us up out of the house, but that wasn't them, that was someone else.
I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
Yes.
else's kid.
Yes, so. The next, the item for consideration, TR 21/09-27, to approve the lease agreement between Muskegon County and JCP Holdings Inc. for 3,660 square foot box hangar with office located at 4776 Star here, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Drive, and Muskegon County Airport for a 2-year period with 3-year option.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and support. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
Annual revenue.
$1,100 a month
The
annually.
new tenant would be paying $1,109 a month or $13,303 a year. The former tenant was paying $775 a month for $9,300.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, all in favor?
I,
Opposed?
I asked a question.
Oh, it's too late.
No, I know. There has to be, all that can be used for is an airport.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, we have these facilities there, we're getting some revenue on them, and that's a good thing. So we're trying to.
Always.
So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Next item for consideration, TR 2109-28, to authorize Mats to remove bus number 0905 from the roster of active revenue vehicles and to permit Mats to dispose of the bus in a future vehicle equipment auction to be conducted using county surplus goods procedures or a scrap sale if the buyer is not found at auction. So
Support.
we have a motion and support. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
I have a question. Jim, does that bus run?
No, this bus suffered an engine failure a couple of months ago. We brought it to Cummins to evaluate it. They indicated it would need a complete overhaul or a recon motor put in it at approximately $40,000 cost. So we're proposing, rather than spend that and get another 6 months of use before we retire it, we're just asking to set it aside now and retire it. Honestly, whether it's operating or not upon disposal really has not, in our experience, made that much difference in the resale value.
Oh, I'm sorry, Charles.
Jim, I see it's on the books as a active revenue vehicle. And when we get those, do we collect that, calculate depreciation with
Yeah,
those?
so these are all grant funded assets. So they were gifted to us per se,
Okay,
but on the MATS books, we depreciate these assets as a non-cash depreciation item.
right.
So you'll see a depreciation item in our budget for close to 800, 900, $700,000 to $900,000 every year, which is not real money going out the door per se,
But it is calculated.
but it is calculated, and this vehicle is fully depreciated.
Thank you. Any other questions? So, seeing none, I would, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, that moves on. Next item is unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business at this time?
Mr. Chair, I do have an issue.
Yes.
I'd like to bring a motion forward to stop outside of the county entities from presenting art fund requests.
Second.
We have a second. We need a roll call.
Can we get an explanation on that?
I
I don't know what that means.
It means that outside entities, outside of county operations will quit giving presentations for requests for art funding. We won't be listening to any more work sessions from outside of county operations anymore.
Well, I do know, if I may, we've been presented with a lot of, I think, issues internally that have exceeded what our expectations have been. I think everyone here would agree with that. It's an internal, we've had tours. I see our facilities guy here did a good job in giving us some updates. So I think we need to take care of that. And I think those numbers have come out a lot higher than we anticipated.
You were
So
also
are you
kind of
saying
a
we
laundry
don't want to
list.
entertain any, or do you want to take care of our
That's
internal?
my intent, that we take care of the motion is that we don't have. So if I can explain a little bit
Yes,
more, I talked to Mark about this the other day, and he says as long as we're open to them, we're gonna have entities presenting to the board, continuing with requests for our funding. So we can wind up going through till next July sitting here, listening to every organization that does anything in the county, trying to get our funding from us, and we already have the need. We've got $34 million and $60 million worth of requests already from within the county.
Yeah.
From the county administration to the different department heads. We need to keep this money internally within the county. And I don't personally want to sit through, waste their time and our time with a presentation that we already know that we're going to have to cut our own department heads budgets to come to round down to the 34 million as it is. So I want to eliminate these work sessions with everybody coming in to present their request to us. So that's my intention of this motion.
Commissioner Sear.
I'm in agreement. I think we need to take care of the house before we go outside.
I'm gonna differentiate from that. I think that it's okay to want to take care of the county, and it's okay to want to do everything on the in-house. That's fine. And if that's what a person's position is, that's fine. But I think it's also disrespectful to these agencies, especially just to name out art, when there's other agencies that are not art. There's other agencies that are in COVID need, and they really need that help and support. Doesn't mean you have to give them anything, but it's just respectful to listen to these agencies. And some of these are great leaders in our community. So to just shut the door in their face and say, you know, you're wasting my time is a little bit disrespectful. I think that if you don't want to be at those meetings, don't be there. And if you don't want to hear them, don't stay and listen. But that's an individual choice, and I think anybody can choose to do that. But I do think that we should leave this open for commissioners that do want to hear these entities out of respect. Doesn't mean we have to give them anything, but I think we have to be respectful about it. These funds are not my funds. These are the community or county funds, and they're giving us to it for that. The least we can do is hear them. And if we decide we don't want to give it to them, that's one thing. But to do it this way, I think is a little cold and disrespectful, and it'll come back, believe me.
Commissioner O'Leary.
Yes, I would agree with Commissioner Nash. We know that some of the lists, given the one that we just saw this week, was filled with stuff that was duplicated elsewhere. Some of them are padded. The request for the sheriff's space needs $4 million to store on things. Some of those requests need to be pared down. And I do think that we have a significant community need. I happen to be on the board of Every Woman's Place, and I know they got like totally screwed by the state and they need some help. I know that Symphony is here, the foundation is here. Everybody, I think we need to pay them respect and give them a chance to make their case. And if you don't want to come, don't come.
I do agree. I do agree to some sort. We've been overwhelmed internally. as
Oh,
well.
absolutely. Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna do it.
Commissioner Pagel, you have before I ask, sorry.
I have a comment. I agree, in this situation, I agree with everybody. I agree that we've been overwhelmed with people that need money in the community, and we've been, it's taken a lot of our time. But as a halfway solution, we might be able to say, would you send us a packet so that we can go through it? And then say, when we get to the point where we're ready to look outside the county into other things, we say, we'd like to hear a presentation from you. Invite them back after we've gotten the information and been able, we're intelligent people. We can read through their brochure. We don't have to listen to,
Yeah.
So I think that might be an option too.
Yeah, I agree somewhat with what Susie's saying, but it's not being disrespectful to say that we don't want to dangle this carrot in front of you that we can't even provide you with. It's giving people false hope, and it is disrespectful to waste their time and ours when we know that the needs that the county has surpasses the amount of the money coming in. I think that's disrespectful. People's time is a resource.
I think that's
for
the
both
dilemma
sides.
we have. And I
What
think the
Susie said is
numbers-
accepting, their information via an email presentation or a video,
Or a
however they
packet,
want
you know.
to send us, that's fine, But sitting through these hour work sessions and we just don't have, our county needs of infrastructure, all over the place are double already than what we have coming in, so.
I think we, Mark helped me out here, I think we prioritized our internal first anyways.
And we don't even have enough to cover that, so.
No, we haven't prioritized anything yet. Right now, we're just receiving information internally and externally.
So that's all that formula. So,
And we haven't even heard from all of our internal county departments yet. have we?
No, we have not.
There's one left.
Can I, if I could make a comment? Back when this first started, I thought some small part of this money would be used for other community organizations and to kind of just help move the whole community forward. But, I still feel that way to some extent, but after what I've seen on a lot of these buildings, this one in particular, it looks okay, it's not. The South Campus is in bad shape. I don't think, even if we took $1 million of it, we'd have to spread it out so much, it's not gonna be much for anybody.
I agree.
Thank you for saying that. And I think, we've got some urgent needs that from our IT that if the system goes down, we're not
Buy
going to
some
do anybody,
fans
any
for IT.
organization any good. Yes, Commissioner Link.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but Mark made the statement the other day that as we continue to get these requests, more keep trickling in. And I don't believe it's disrespectful to tell an organization not to prepare for a presentation. I think it's actually more disrespectful to say, hey, we've got $34 million in an open checkbook, come and present. And if we tell them ahead of time, we've already determined to spend this money internally, they can use that time to do presentations elsewhere. There's COVID money going out to all of the municipalities, and if they're open to it, we know Muskegon, the city of Muskegon wants to partner with other organizations. So let them go. And I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you told me the other day that you went to an administrative meeting and most of the counties have already determined that they were going to use their COVID relief money internally. They weren't going to be gifting it out. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think it's 2 weeks ago, that was other county administrators. And the ones that spoke up were using it internally. There are a few that are using it externally, but the bulk of them are using it internally.
Mark, that was the State County Administrators Association, isn't it?
Correct.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's why I'm up.
I just want to say that I'm not downplaying that these other organizations don't have value, like Every Woman's Place, because they are, play a key component to residents in our community. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, the reason I'm saying that it's disrespectful, number one, to single out the arts, I think is disrespectful. Because if you're gonna say this is gonna be used just for the county, then say that. Don't say the arts shouldn't be here.
I don't
Say everybody should be here.
No one singled out the
That was
arts.
his motion.
I think it was our.
No,
Art.
it was.
Art.
AR.
Oh, I didn't know you
The
said
name of the
no
fund.
art.
No.
Okay.
ARP.
I was like, wow.
ARP.
A lot of art people.
Oh, yeah,
in the audience.
Okay, I'm sorry. I
No,
misunderstood.
ARP.
Now you would agree.
Art,
I
art.
understand. This is just.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you don't want any other presentations for the art money at all, and that all is to be used for the county.
Correct. That was, yes.
And then, and then if we get money, if we find out we have money left over,
Yeah.
then we would prioritize and ask people to come back in.
And I agree with Marcia, though. We do have to be mindful, though, because I did sit with Everyone's Place. And because they called me over and we had a talk, and she showed and explained everything. And they got hit pretty hard. And
Yeah,
they did get-
everybody
they
did.
did get the
No,
shaft
they got
from
really
the
hit.
government.
Yeah.
80,000.
Where they didn't get their
Yeah.
money like they were supposed to. And so they're taking a super hit, and it's gonna have a major dent on their situation. But my whole thing is if we're not gonna do it at all, we shouldn't do it at all.
Right.
I don't want to see us come back and try to give one agency or any other agency something else, because then we're gonna kind of be throwing,
Yeah.
we're gonna be contradicting ourselves. So if we're gonna exclude everybody completely, we have to do that. But we also have to understand too, that, they'll remember that down the road.
No, and thank you for that. I think my opinion is, and I know we have some presentations and I'm very aware there's a lot of needs out there. Can we have this sidebar conversation? So thank you.
I'm on the board.
Yeah, oh, thank you, Bob. Thank you.
There's two of those. I could take one down here
I
too.
agree with you, and I'm involved in a lot of organizations and stuff, nonprofits and so on too, as we all are. But I also think it's disrespectful to our administrators of some of the needs that we really need internally. And I was really shocked at some of the stuff. I don't want to put anybody on the spot right now, but there was some things that came to my attention from building need, and as Mr. Skolnick said, that really needs some look at, and and so we do. I think it's somewhat disrespectful for our county administrators and our directors not to have them consideration first. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, yeah, they should be considered. Yeah, we should meet our needs first.
Yeah, I'm not
But
disagreeing. That
if
was
you
a
want-
misunderstanding.
I understand just
Long
what
way.
you're saying.
They put some good words. Anyways, legally, I'm gonna look at you. We have a motion and a second, and I do think we're gonna take a roll call vote at this point. And Mr. Lawrence, would you like
Can you
to
restate?
that
Yeah,
motion?
restate the motion.
The county would stop entertaining outside entities from presenting art requests. Art.
Art. Not art.
Well, I know why you were.
I didn't know. I was
How about just
gonna say art. I
American
was like,
Rescue
whoa.
Plan?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just.
So let's
got
do, I'm sorry. Can we do a roll call vote then, please?
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
No.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes,
Commissioner Leary,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
No.
Commissioner Pego,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
No.
Commissioner Wilkins,
No,
and Chair Brown.
Yes. So,
We have 5 yes and 4 no.
all right, moving right along. One of the next one on new bit, unless we have any other new business. Mark?
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
The people that are here today, you didn't put a time on that. Is it like effective immediately or after today or?
Well, the motion will have to go in front of the full board.
So the
it's
people
not-
that are here today, we would still listen to them, right?
Well, that's up to you guys. If they prepared the presentation, so to be official, it has to go before the full board, so.
and I think they know that, the chances of them getting something.
Yeah. Well, I just, since they're here, I just
Right, that's
need
right.
to
Out of
communicate
respect.
to them what
That's
we're
right,
gonna
out
do.
of respect, if they would like to still present.
Your business?
Your airport and fairground storage space need update.
Yes, you were sent a document.
Wait, so.
Oh,
So we're moving into new business?
Oh, I'm sorry, that was unfinished business. So we're moving.
There's still an unfinished business.
And you still on there?
We're
that
still
was-
on unfinished business.
That was the art,
Right.
We just did
American
that.
Rescue Plan, right? But
No one thinks-
you have to ask if there's any more unfinished business.
Any other unfinished?
Is there any other unfinished business? Okay. Seeing none, thank you very much. New business, so. Right, Gary, okay, go ahead.
Okay. The director of Public Works put together a report on the needs of the sheriff's storage, which is currently at the fairgrounds and currently at the airport in a Dodson Road location. The report goes into detail and it has roughly 4 options to consider if we were to remove the sheriff from the airport and or fairgrounds. Matt Fair had to put this report together. He had to go back home for family
and the sheriff could not be with us because of the death in his family. So the two experts on this matter cannot be here today. So it's up to you. I mean, we can discuss this and work through it. I'm more than happy to do that, or take this, go and read it. And maybe next Tuesday, well, next Thursday is actually when the sheriff is presenting his space needs. Anyway, we could discuss it at that point. But I'm open to try to field as much questions as I can. But again, the two directors who this affect are not here.
We don't have a motion on the floor. So
No, it's just discussion right now.
Discussion.
Could I,
Yes.
do you know, like, what's in these? That's a lot of storage need, you know?
Right. And
What,
I
can we
do
get
not
rid of
have-
some of this stuff?
That's a great question, and Sheriff will be here next week from today explaining what's in these buildings and the needs, space needs he needs. The one on there is obviously the one he wants to purchase. I think it'll be in his, not speak on his behalf, but I believe it's option 2 or 2B is what he's interested in.
Is that buying for $4 million?
3.1 or 3.2.
So this is just for information purposes.
Correct,
We're not here to make a decision over it.
unless there's someone makes a motion.
I would like to
I
make a
just got
motion.
this, so I don't want to.
So actually, I'd like to make a motion to have the sheriff move out of the fairgrounds and the airport, or start paying market rate rent to those two entities.
Support.
Okay, can I make a comment? The problem is that that's all, you could vote that and we could do it, but it's coming out of the general fund. That's the problem.
You think this is, think is $2 million, or do you think
No,
it's
I-
$2 million
I-
is coming from?
And I looked at this today, 30,000 foot building for $3 million.
Yeah, where do you think that money's gonna come from?
Where, how do you?
Yeah,
that's a
I
really.
mean, the sheriff doesn't generate any money. So I'm guessing general fund. I'm not gonna see
What are they putting in that
$23,000.
building?
He doesn't have that much in there,
That's
Matt
huge.
says. Does-
I mean, there's no kitchen, there's no, maybe there's a bathroom, but this is a storage building.
Right.
Yeah, it
Mr.
shouldn't
Scoll's
cost
got
$3
the
million.
floor right now.
No, we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
Well, we can,
Because the.
but if we get a motion on the floor for next time,
The
then we
paying
can
for
talk
it is
about
the issue.
It would have to go
because
to full
he
board
doesn't
still
have any money
anyway.
in his budget to do this.
Yeah.
this just moves it to full board.
This just moves it to full board, Bob, and he'll be back for full board to talk about it.
Okay.
Well, he'll be back a week from today, Thursday, to talk about
Thursday,
all
so-
his space needs.
Okay,
So,
the motion stands, so.
Yes.
so granted that he may have to pay out, but right now there are departments, particularly the fairgrounds and transportation, to suggest that these fees aren't costing the county money. Just because he has free rent at the airport, and just because he has free rent, those departments at the fairgrounds and the airport, they have to, basically, they record that as vacant space. There's no income for the departments. The airport's been struggling for years to try to get by, and yet they've got a whole hangar full of junk that they're not recouping any fees for. So my motion is that he either vacates those facilities or he starts paying them market rate rent. There's some question on, those are airport hangars. The FAA says they're supposed to be hangars. It's supposed to be an airplane in there. So it's not even necessarily proper storage by FAA guidelines.
So the storage as your proposal or motion would include the airport
And the fairgrounds.
They're both in here, we'd like $28,000 a year.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, can I make,
Yes.
just make another comment? I believe that the hangar, the space he's using is at the old airport. I'm not even sure that's rentable for him. The original airport.
Yes,
Yeah,
there's a building, I mean, answer that. There's a building next door to that rents to an airplane. Has a hangar airplane in it.
That's the private.
The private one. So this one here, we have to have some work done to it to be able to put an airplane in.
I'm not saying he can't keep that. I'm more than willing to let him keep that in my motion. He's just gotta pay for it.
If I may.
I'm sorry.
Either there has to be a separate motion or a motion added, because the hazmat truck is also stored there. So the hazmat would have to pay some of that fund as well, which again comes from the general fund. Which we should be paying for. Mr. Leonard is correct that we should not be renting these for free or have space in there for free.
But hazmat's not part of the sheriff's department. That's where.
No,
it's-
it's fire department.
That's the
Yeah,
point.
That's
Yeah,
different.
but that, again, he's not the only one in that space. I guess all I'm saying. I mean, so that dollar amount there would have to be split somewhat with the hazmat team, which is our funds, general funds. Actually, also general funds.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Mr. Laring's idea is not off base. It makes sense. But I think we have not enough information. We need the sheriff to answer a lot of questions, like how much of this stuff can be gotten rid of? And there's got to be other places that are not $3,000 or $3 million that can be used for storage.
Well, Mr.
I
Chair.
mean, it
so I've
seems
done-
exorbitant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I have asked our administrator to give us a price on what it would be for him to use the space out at the wastewater, at the wastewater, where we built a new building for the old maintenance building. So out there on, what would that be, Sullivan? No, it'd be Laketon, wouldn't it? It's out there in Laketon. It's Laketon, it's out on Laketon.
Yeah.
It's right in the middle of the wastewater. If we could use that building, because that is empty at the moment. And
I would
I
move-
talked to the sheriff about that before, and he said, that's a long way out, but so's the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
And the fairgrounds, we expect those people to come in and maintain the fairgrounds and take care of all of that stuff, but we are not giving them the money from the space that they're supposed to lease to be able to do that with. So,
It sounds like we've got a lot more. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I'd move to table this until the board meeting so we can get answers to our many questions.
and that's the only reason I made it, was because this will force him to be able to ready to
Well-
answer the questions at full.
It's gonna go to the next board meeting anyway.
You're supporting table?
So we do have
To
a,
end discussion, we have to vote on the table.
Yep.
yeah, we do.
We
have
need
a motion on the
2/3
table
for
correctly. So the
table.
first motion,
Second.
oh,
Charles did.
But you need 2/3 for a table.
okay.
Oh, you don't? It's just majority.
No, it's a majority.
My bad.
So
Vote to table.
vote to table. So roll call vote to table the motion.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
No,
Commissioner Laring,
No,
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego,
No,
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes,
Chair Brown.
No.
We have 5 yes and 4 no.
All right.
So
So
do we have a date when that's tabled?
So what I said was till the full board meeting, isn't that where he's gonna present?
it was gonna.
To
go
when
to-
he's gonna present.
A week from today.
Okay.
all right. Yes, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, and I guess I wanted to ask a question on that. Mark, why don't we do a chargeback on that like we do with IT?
Because it always comes back from general fund. We were charging ourselves, that's why.
Oh,
You're in charge of the sheriff's gonna say, I need an additional, whatever the amount is, 20,000, and it's gonna come to general fund, and we're gonna approve that to be charged.
maybe.
well, I mean, that doesn't
In the
mean we
past.
have to do
In the
that.
past.
I'm just saying, coming from the sheriff's account. You know,
Sure.
just like it would come
From
from,
his budget.
what is it, emergency,
Yes.
Right,
just charge back whoever is using it, like we do with IT.
his account is the general fund.
Mr. Skolnick. had a
Yeah.
question.
I'm just curious, whatever happened to the building that the previous sheriff bought out on Evanston?
Steve Fink, you know, he's our county engineer.
When he was gonna do all the work on his own car.
Steve Fink, Facilities Management, when the sheriff gave up working on their own cars, that has been turned over to the drain commissioner at one point to store their equipment and truck out there. In fact, it's still referred to as the drain garage a lot, but that is where we store our facilities, snow plows and other equipment in the summer. So facilities uses that structure and pays for the utilities now.
When was that authorized? I don't remember that.
I do. We
Do
did.
you?
That's your.
It's been that way for a long, long time.
No, I just didn't remember it coming before us.
Probably 13 or 2012, 2013.
No, it was after Brenda took that there because Brenda sold all their equipment.
Oh,
Because they used to have ditch diggers and all, she sold the shovels and everything.
Correct. She used to have a brush chopper and things like that that subsequently have been sold to solid waste. So she got rid of all of her equipment.
Would it be, thank you. Can we get an inventory from the sheriff? Or what?
We'll request it, yes.
I'm sorry.
That
I'm
might take a
requesting
while.
that.
That doesn't mean you can get it.
Well,
I
I'd
can,
like to,
I'd like to
Susie.
comment on that. I know when I sit on emergency services, so that's 13 counties in the region, and a lot of times they all get different equipment, and through emergency services, through Region 13, we got like a free, it was actually free to us, but it's like an armored vehicle. I think we have 2 of them now. So those are big pieces of equipment that we would get in case we had a Detroit type riot, but we've never had to use anything like that, but we still have them.
Right.
So they get them out for parades, but we haven't had a parade in a couple of years, but that's about the only time some of that big equipment has been used.
Right, but
With the sheriff.
I'd
Should be
like to request that we
storage
get
for
an
it.
inventory. It seems like we don't know what's there, and, I mean, Mr. Coons could tell me what bus he has, what number it
Right,
is.
and the
how many miles
mileage,
it's on. Yeah,
yeah.
it just doesn't, so I'm a little
I'll put
confused.
the request in.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving, we've done with that, and sounds like a lot of questions as far as that's concerned. Any other new business at this time? Not seeing any public comment. Do we have any public comment in regards to the transportation? Nope, thank you. Final board comment? Any final board comment? Yes.
I didn't want to skip, we were talking about the folks that came in, and I don't know if they recognize public comment time, if they want to make some statements.
Okay.
Yes.
But wait, not to confuse, we actually have a work scheduled after this. The board meeting ends, and then we'll call each group up to do their presentation.
Oh, we're still doing
Thank
that
you.
today.
I didn't see that.
No.
I mean, they're already here. If they'd like to give it to us, they want it.
All right, if there's no final adjourn the transportation today. Thank you.
Hey.
So